Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of News Today. We are going to be discussing the news articles for 11th of November, the key developments, the main headlines of the day. We are going to talk about those things. And from the point of view of your exam, what could be important? What are the things which will need your attention? We're going to talk about that also. First, let's look at what are the main news items for the day. So we have 4 main news articles today. The first one is government to establish UCBs in all cities with population over 2 lakhs within 5 years. Then you have India's bioeconomy to reach $300 billion in the coming years. This is the statement of the Union Minister of State for Science and Technology. After that, we have India's development cooperation model, a distinct alternative to conventional aid. So this is a very analytical topic. We'll discuss this. Then you have Dumpsite Remediation Accelerator program, which has been launched, and we'll discuss what this is about. There are also some quick updates, some short news which we are going to focus on. So you have Mitra Shakti exercise, then the World Artificial Intelligence Cooperation Organization, quality control orders. We're going to talk about one rare earth element, neodymium. Then Greater Flamingo Sanctuary. This has been in news. Rift Valley fever, a new disease which is spreading in some parts of the world. Then the Climate Investment Fund. And there is a place in news which we are highlighting today, and that is Hanoi in Vietnam. So we'll talk about all these things one by one. Let's start with the first article, which is on cooperative banks. So you have urban cooperative banks, and the discussion here is that the government has announced that it is going to establish urban cooperative banks in all cities with population over 2 lakhs within the next 5 years. Usually when government comes up with a scheme, it gives a detailed timeline. What are the statistics? What is the time period? So that, outcomes can be monitored accordingly. Now, this announcement has come at a recent conference which was taken place, which is Co-op Kumbh 2025. So this was a conference which was dedicated to the concept of cooperative credit. And in this specific announcement has come. I'm sure you've heard about cooperatives and you understand the concept of cooperatives. We have some very successful example of cooperatives in India, like Amul. The whole white revolution came through cooperatives. So it's basically people, a community coming together, they're pooling their resources, and then they are owners of that enterprise. This has worked very well in businesses like, the milk industry. The one example which is like the big success poster for cooperatives. But now we are here talking about setting up banks also, because the challenge is that any sector which has to grow, any area where you need some progress to happen, some businesses to flourish, you need funds. So here, the cooperative bank is going to be people coming in, pooling their money. That's going to act as a bank. And the way the bank works, the profits it earns, that's going to be equally divided amongst all the members of the cooperatives. That's the idea. And this one is particularly for urban areas. So urban cooperative banks. Along with this detail that the banks are going to be set up, they've also talked about launching 2 applications, so 2 mobile apps. One is going to be the Sehkar DigiPay, and the second is the Sahakar Digi Loan. So see, these cooperative banks, their size is going to be smaller. If you compare them to the bigger, larger, conventional banks, they're going to be smaller. But despite that, even the smallest bank, they want to equip that with digital services. So the concept of Digital India also gets integrated here. So you are going to be able to make payments through this application. the DigiPay app, and loan applications. The biggest problem is getting loans. And if you can do that online, if you can do that digitally, that really streamlines the whole process. So the banks will be equipped with these applications. This is the second major announcement which has come in this particular conference. Now let's try and understand the significance. We have this concept of urban cooperative banks. So the biggest advantage, the biggest significance we want to take away from this is financial inclusion. There are a lot of people still in India who are not in the formal financial sector, which means that they don't have access to funds, they don't have access to loans. So such a cooperative bank dedicated to urban areas can really make sure that most people who are otherwise not able to have access to credit, who are not able to otherwise have access to loans, they're able to get loans, they're able to use banking facilities. And this means we are going to be financially including everybody. The other significance which we can get through this is local focus. Okay, every area might have a specific community, and now it's if this is your community-based bank, the members are from your community, from that local area, you'll be able to have easier access. It'll also be easier for you to learn. So we also are promoting financial literacy through this. And the problems, the situations, the kind of infrastructure which is needed, the kind of businesses which are running, the kind of local industries which are there, loans can be, or banking facilities can be targeted to that. So this is going to be a very customized, solving local problem kind of a situation. Then, of course, priority sector lending. So this is an idea of RBI where they make some sectors, they highlight some sectors which are going to be called priority sectors, which are considered to be key for development of the economy, development of a particular region. And through these urban cooperative banks also, they are targeting priority sector lending. Like 60% of the funds these banks are going to release, they are going to go through these to the priority sector lending. That means overall development is also a goal which is going to be targeted, or which is a benefit which we are going to get from this kind of a banking system. Let's talk about some key aspects, some features of this kind of a bank. So this is a subset of a cooperative banks. So you already have bigger, larger cooperative banks running. So this is a similar thing, a subset of the same thing. These have to be registered as cooperative societies. So this is a bank, this is also a cooperative society, because the structure is like that. Like it's that community holding which is significant. So legally also, it's going to be registered as a cooperative society. So whatever state cooperative act is there under that, or if it is in multiple states, then multiple state cooperative act will apply, and according to that, the bank is supposed to get itself registered. So there is this Cooperative Credit Society Act of 1905, which kind of created the base for, creating cooperatives and providing a legal structure to this. And this was then later amended in 1912, and this is the legal basis. So the powers, the position is drawn under this basic framework. Then the key feature here, or the key distinction here from a cooperative bank otherwise is that this is supposed to operate in urban and semi-urban areas. Its niche is, its targeting is fixed. This is for urban areas. This is for urban or maybe semi-urban areas at best. That's the special feature. Now let's see how it's going to be regulated, right? All government entities, they'll have some set of rules which they have to follow, some compliance measures which are there. And for this, actually, there are two systems of regulation. First is the Banking Regulation Act. Okay, so see, originally the Banking Regulation Act was for banks. Then what happened was, so the act came in 1949, then it was amended in 1966, and through that, cooperative banks were also supposed to be regulated by that. So that's one regulation which applies. And Further, there has been another amendment to this Banking Regulation Act in 2020, which is giving more control over the urban cooperative banks. See, earlier the biggest idea of cooperatives was that cooperatives will manage their own resources, which manage their own governance. But now, with this amendment, it's kind of, being made more accountable in the way that the government, the RBI rules, the uniformity or the targets which they seek for the whole country's economy. So they will be able to intervene in the management and governance through this amendment. Okay, so first, basically, this whole point is the same thing. You have the Banking Regulation Act applies, but because it's a cooperative society at the end of the day, so the cooperative society rules also applies. There is a registrar of cooperative societies, which the respective state governments or central governments are going to be setting up, which will control the basic administrative function. The cooperative societies regulation is also there, and the banking regulation is also going to be there. Let's see what are the issues which are going to come in working or operating of these banks. First of all, the current scenario is this, that they're concentrated in only a few states. They don't have pan-India presence as the government or as we would like it to have. So currently they are in Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Gujarat, which as such have a very strong cooperative culture. But the real thing or the real success of this would come from a situation where it is there in many, many more states. Second problem, if you've looked nicely at the control and regulation, is this aspect of dual regulation. That RBI is also there and cooperative bodies are also regulating it. Sometimes what happens is there is a clash of their goals. There is a clash of their rules. Or it might seem like too much imposition on them. The cooperatives which are trying to run, and we are saying that they can do their own targeting, they can focus on local areas. This might sometimes end up as being too much regulation or too much interference in their functioning. So this is a tricky thing. Then you have market competition. So urban cooperative banks are one thing, but there are also a lot of small financial banks. Because what's happening here is these urban cooperative banks, not only are they available in urban areas, they, in terms of conventional banking, they also are going to be, taking in less. They're going to be offering loans at a lesser rate also. They might be offering more returns also because of their structure. But in that sense, you also have small financial banks which are similar, or you have different financial technology endeavors which are now there, the fintechs which are there, which might be competing with them. So there is competition also in this. But I think if we talk about financial inclusion in the true sense, there might possibly be space for everything if it is targeted and it is developed properly. With this, we complete our discussion on these cooperative banks, and we can move on to the next topic. India's bioeconomy to reach 300 billion in coming years. Union Minister of State for Science and Technology. So this is, we've not reached there, okay? And we are not getting there like anytime soon, but this is a target which we look for, and with the current state of developments, it seems like a possible thing that, okay, we can do that. So here we need to understand the nuance of bioeconomy. It's a very big buzzword, considering we're going to make $300 billion from it in the coming years. So we have to understand what this bioeconomy is all about. So see, bio, wherever the word bio comes, you should understand we're talking about some kind of living things, some kind of living organisms. So here, this is defined as, it is the use of renewable biological resources, so living resources, plants, animals, bacteria, their processes, how they are working, what they are producing, all of that is going to be used to produce different things, to produce food, energy, industrial goods, which are supposed to be sustainable and help in economic growth. These two things are very difficult to achieve together. That's the big thing in this. Why the government is emphasizing this, or why they're talking about that the next big revolution, the next industrial revolution has to come through use of biological resources or biotechnology for that matter, is because current development has this pressure in the fact that it is not sustainable. If you want to develop, if you want to like set up more industry, you're going to be polluting the environment. You're going to be damaging the environment. So there is always this trade-off. It's economy versus environment, versus damage, and versus the fact that maybe your development will not be sustained for a very long time. This can be corrected. This connection can be properly made through innovations in biotechnology, and that is what the bioeconomy is all about. It's going to talk about economic growth. At the same time, it is supporting sustainable growth. It is going to be sustainable development. In this, let's see what is the picture in India currently. So currently, like in 2014, we started with $10 billion. And by 2024, this 10 billion in 10 years has increased to $165.7 billion. So this is a very big jump, a very significant jump. And the target is by 2030. This could, if done properly, very well, very easily, we could reach $300 billion. Okay. As of today, the leading states are Maharashtra and followed by Karnataka. But there is a lot of emphasis with a different number of government schemes to grow it to other parts of the country also. Let's see what all things can come under this. From the point of view of the UPSC exam, this whole idea is a very important theme. UPSC has asked a number of questions, like this year only in Mains 2025, they've asked a question, how biotechnology will help in the environment. So a lot of these examples, you'll understand, they can be befitting to that. But next time they might ask you something else. So how bioeconomy or application of these kind of things can be used in different areas. This is a nice chart to explain that to you. So you have 4 key subsectors of bioeconomy. First is bioindustrials. So here you have biofuels, bioplastics, enzymes used in different industries. So biofuels could have been a very good example for environmental use also. It's a safer fuel, it's less polluting fuel, which is friendlier for the environment. Then biopharma, a lot of medical research is based on it. India is also doing very good work on this. Like a lot of our vaccine production is now based on this, and we're exporting a lot of those things to other countries also. So pharmaceuticals, medical devices, biologics, then bioagriculture, genetically modified crops, precision farming, products like BT cotton. Maybe you've heard about BT cotton. We are growing this in India. Around 90% or more than 90% of India's cotton is now BT cotton. This is a special variety which we had created through genetic modification, which is resistant to pests. The pest cannot attack it. So that's an advantage which can help us to secure, get food security when applied to food crops also. Then, of course, bio-research, a lot of research, a lot of better understanding of different processes, of different functions, clinical trials, bioinformatics, biotech, softwares, all of that could be developed. Okay. Now we'll talk about the specific initiatives and the government institutions, organizations which are in place, because the government is trying to give this a very big boost. The first one is, you have Biotechnology Research and Innovation Council, BRIC. The whole news item has been derived from this. So this was set up in 2023, and now it is the second foundation day of BRIC. Okay, so in that whole inaugural address for the foundation day, the minister had come and he emphasized on all those things and gave that number of 300 billion. So this has been created. So you have, if you understand the whole regulatory system, the whole ministerial system, so there is a Ministry of Science and Technology. Under that, there is a Department of Biotechnology. And in India at that time, 2023, there were a lot of autonomous institutions doing different kind of research, different kind of work. So they've integrated all of them and they've created this consolidated body, which is Biotechnology Research and Innovation Council. Okay, now what further has been announced is that they are setting up a very big innovation park. So this is a 200-acre brick bio-enterprise innovation park, which is coming up in Faridabad. So this was also announced in that foundation day. For growth of bioeconomy, there are a few more initiatives which are in place, which you should know about. We've listed 3 here, so please try and understand this. First is BioE3. So this is a recent policy of the government, which is biotechnology for economy, environment, and employment. So this has recently, in 2024 only, received government approval, cabinet approval. And this is the idea which I was telling you. The biotechnology is going to be used for the economy, and that is going to be environmentally sustainable. And if we do that, if we set up all those industries, if we go for that kind of growth, it's definitely going to lead to employment. So this policy is about emphasizing on all these aspects together for overall growth of the country, or the next industrial revolution, as the minister is known to have pointed. Then you have National Biopharma Mission. This along with Innovate in India. So NBMI3. This is implemented by another council, which is Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council. So this is, that was BRIC, this is BIRAC, okay? And this is significant from the point that this is being funded by the World Bank. And it is known to be helping a lot of institutions currently running in India. This is dedicated to industrial innovation, industrial research. So it's also helping or integrating its work with a lot of MSMEs in India. Pharma mission means that aspect of preparing medicines, preparing diagnostic kits, tests for identification of diseases, vaccines, all of that. Last is bioenergy. Bioenergy, in this, we're talking about ethanol blending. So ethanol, if it is blend with your conventional fossil fuels, it's going to make the emission of your carbon emission, it is going to bring that down, and it's going to make the whole thing more efficient, more sustainable, more environment friendly. So we had a target of achieving 20% ethanol blending in petrol, and we have achieved this in 2025. So the target was supposed to be for 2030, and it's a very rare fleet where we've achieved the target before their deadline, and that also substantially more, 5 years before the original deadline. Okay, so these schemes are important. You can get direct questions on them from the point of view of the prelims exams, and in mains, there have been a lot of questions on this broad theme. So if you know these schemes, you'll be able to write down that, okay, what all things the government is doing in this regard. We'll move ahead to our next article. This is India's development cooperation model, a distinct alternative to conventional aid. Now, I want to talk to you here about a slight background of India's development story. For many years, India has been one country which has been seeking aid, seeking funds from all the different banks of the world, all the different countries, the developed countries, and that is what helped us to fuel our development. So we were one of those countries who were receiving the largest sums of aid, grants, and loans from all parts of the world. But now we are really trying to change this narrative. We're really trying to change this story where India is becoming participant to helping other countries in their development. So from getting aid, we are now helping in or cooperating for growth and development of other countries. And there is a unique side to how we are trying to do this development. So we'll talk about that what is India's development model. India started contributing to a lot of international funds, and India is also helping a lot of other countries, the lesser developed countries, least developed countries, the island, small island nations. All of them are seeking help, seeking a cooperation in development from India. And this is how our model is designed. This is a very, very interesting, a very good international relations topic. So the first is a demand-driven approach. A demand-driven approach is like if we have a collaboration, let's say with an African country, and we say that, okay, we want to help you in infrastructure development. One way is that we tell them that, okay, please develop this port. Another way is whatever is their demand, whatever is their expectation, whatever they want to develop, we help in that. So India is very keen on this, that you choose your projects, you choose where you want money to be put, you choose what kind of help you want technological help, you want help in materials, whatever it is, but the project should come from you. We are going to compare this India's development model to China's development model so that we get a clarity on what it is happening. So China is also another country which is kind of there in or has presence in many different parts of the world. And China's model is supply driven. That China has decided that, okay, this is what I want, that I want to, like you have this Belt and Road initiatives. China's projects are driven by its own strategic and economic interests. That I want to build a road which starts from China, goes throughout Asia and Europe and their whole plan. So they are going to set up roads and railways and airports and all those things based on their strategic interest or their economic interest. So this is a supply-driven model. That this is what we are supplying, this is what we can offer you. But India's development model is demand-driven. Okay, which kind of helps the country which is seeking the assistance or seeking cooperation also to be a little bit in control. Then we are also focusing a great deal on capacity building. There are a number of programs which India is running where they're training scientists, where they're training officers in administrative work, in governance, in digitization in different countries. Because this is very important. Capacity building of those in those countries is very important so that then they can continue their development further. Then prioritizing vulnerable states. Like I told you, regions of Africa, then Caribbean, small island countries, all of these groups which are otherwise not being focused by a lot of different development funds or banking systems of the world, or they're not able to get grants. So India is trying to, have those kind of associations with all those nations which are otherwise, left out from the conventional system. Then blending local ownership with multilateral credibility. So a lot of these development initiatives which the government of India is currently leading or participating in are linked with multilateral bodies like the United Nations. I'll give you one example of this. One specific development fund which India has set up, which India has helped set up. Okay, so this is United Nations Development Partnership Fund. India has played a very key role in setting up this fund. And in this fund, this was established in 2017 under the Office of South-South Cooperation. Now, this concept of South-South cooperation is very vital to India's overall external policy. So what is South-South cooperation? If you understand the historical system of world affairs, of world supremacy, so it's been the American nations, or I'll specifically say, okay, USA, you have Europe. All of these are in the northern hemisphere, the northern part of the world. The south is where, the lesser developed countries are there. And now, for many years, how things have been going on is that the northern nations, they are helping the southern nations. Like India is getting grants for all of this. But from that mindset, the change in ideology is that we have to now go for South-South cooperation. The southern countries, right? So you have South America is there, you have parts of Asia. All of them should come together and they should have a system of mutual cooperation. So this South-South cooperation is vital, and in this, you have this UN Development Partnership Fund. India has contributed to this fund. So just look at what a major shift this is. From seeking aid, we are now contributing aid to funds. And because it is a United Nations initiative, there are many other such initiatives and programs which are going on. So this gives it international credibility. Right, because this is a multilateral organization. This also helps, grow against any regional conflicts. Like if you have a bilateral engagement, like if you decide to give some assistance to a particular country, then whatever your personal relationship is, that becomes more significant than whatever you are trying to do. But here in that multilateral system, in that multilateral body, that is somehow neutralized. So that's the key thing which is great about this whole thing, that you have local ownership, local participation in there, but there's a lot of credibility of how this system is going to be working, and that is because of multilateral engagement which is involved in this India's development model. As far as China is concerned, so they have a supply-driven model. Their projects are influenced by their own interests. Wherever they put in money, it's for their own benefit primarily, that how they can extract maximum output. And their diplomacy is still debt diplomacy. That means they're just lending large sums of money, without, let's say, capacity building or technology transfer or talking about, some shared aspirational goals. So majorly what they're doing is they have a lot of money and that's what they are giving away as a way of leverage. So this is what India does not want to do. This is one thing very significant, that you want engagement, you want cooperation, you want to work towards shared goals, but not as a leverage, not because somebody is in debt of you, but for overall growth of all the countries, the South-South cooperation to be specific here. With this, we can move on to our next discussion. Dumpsite Remediation Accelerator program. So I'm sure wherever you live, in whatever city you are, you have these kind of large dumping grounds present. Like I am here in Delhi, and how you come to know that you are in Delhi, if you're like traveling from Haryana, you will know that there's a large dumping ground there. And the moment you see this, you know that, okay, now we've entered Delhi. Now, such dumping sites have to be removed, have to be cleared, there has to be a remediation to this. That means we need a solution, we need a remedy to this. And the program which is launched is talking about an accelerator program, which, if the term you understand, means that you're going to do it quickly, you're going to do it in a time-bound manner. Let's look at the specifics of this newly launched program. So we had launched a program, Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0 in 2021. Okay, so Swachh Bharat Mission, I'm sure everybody's heard about. It was about cleanliness and cleaning our cities, and everybody participating in doing that. So that was an old program. Once the program with a vital objective is there, of course, with that program, we did not suddenly become a clean nation. So we kind of looked for more targets, more things which can be done. And under that, you had the Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0, which was launched. So this came in 2021, and this had a set time period of 5 years. Okay, so for 5 years, so this timeline of Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0 is also coming to an end. So that's going to be in 2026, and the goal of this was a garbage-free status for all cities. So all our cities should be garbage-free. And in this, recently what they have done under this mission is that this Dumpsite Remediation Accelerator program, or DRAP, this has come up. So the significance of this is now you have only 1 year left towards this timeline. Timeline is September 2026. So till that time, there is a Lakshya zero dump sites. Okay, target is zero dump sites in Indian cities, and it's an accelerated program because the whole thing has to be done very quickly in a matter of just 1 year. So this is under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Now, the sites which are going to be remedied, or the dumping locations, they've set up criterias, of course, because in government settings, while schemes are coming in, you need quantifiable measures that, okay, which dumping sites do I put? So they have given this in terms of how much waste is there. So all states, all union territories, of course, are a part of this scheme, but they are going to give priority to sites which are containing 45,000 million tons of legacy waste. Okay, so this is the amount which should be there. And for union territories and northeastern states, of course, northeast states, of course, there are no such rules, there's no such liability, but for other cities, because there might be too many dumping sites in that, so we're going to give priority according to how much waste they have. Now, this word legacy waste we have to understand. Okay, what exactly is legacy waste? Legacy waste basically means the municipal waste, which is there, which is put up on these as landfills. So this is aged municipal solid waste in landfills or dumping sites. So this would be a mix of partially or completely decomposed biodegradable waste. So there'll be some biodegradable waste, there'll be plastic waste, there will be other kinds of solid waste, all collected and dumped at a particular location. Now, they have done a very good surveying of this, that what dumping site is there. So the understanding is that 80% of the legacy waste is connected in 214 sites in 202 urban local bodies. Okay, so there are 204 sites, roughly you can say, in 200 cities, where we are going to be having this legacy waste which is present, and this is what we are going to clear off in the next 1 year. Now, for doing this, or clearing of these waste, there are some issues which are there. The issues are dependent on what all things are present in the waste. Some of them can be very damaging to the environment. There are two major issues here. First is leachate. Leaching of these waste substances can happen. So there's a dumping site, right? Below that you have groundwater also, or maybe near it some groundwater or some water body, some river may be passing out. So the waste might be polluting the water. And this water, let's say it's groundwater, this, if it is contaminated, wherever it is being supplied, that is problematic. Okay, so that whole site, it's not just that site per se, but everything around it, all the environmental components, the water, the soil, everything needs to be considered, has to be checked before you can think of, reclaiming this whole site. The idea is that dumping site has to be reclaimed. They want to change them into green zones. Now they are free of waste, and they can be used for some better purpose. They are safe. But for that, we have to be sure of the water. The second component is the gas. A lot of this waste is decomposed partially or fully, and when they are decomposed, there are different gases which are going to be coming out from them. Like you have different kinds of microorganisms growing up on them. So you have carbon dioxide, you have methane, which, if you know, are also greenhouse emitting gases. So these gases, sorry. These are greenhouse gases, so there is a damage to that whole area, the atmosphere over that. So these gases per se are also very harmful. So you have to be cautious about the gas, you have to be cautious about the water or whatever stuff has leached out into the soil or into the water. So while reclaiming it or while doing that remediation, these things have to be very carefully monitored. There are two technologies here for managing dumping sites. We're going to compare both these technologies. First is biocapping. Biocapping is that you take the whole dump, okay, you remove all the waste, and then you can change it into its natural environment. Like, let's say you've put up a park here. But here, in this, those two problems are still going to be there, the gases and the water. So leachate is there, landfill gases is there you have to manage it. So you have to keep monitoring, like I told you. So biocapping mein, you need to maintain it. And they say that because, depending on, of course, the size of the dumping site, you have to consider that. But it might need maintenance for a good 15 years where you keep checking, maybe you have to set up some water filtration plants or something like that also in that area. But it's a 15-year project at least. Second is biomining. Now, this is where innovations of biotechnology are coming in. So what you do is you use microorganisms which are going to take care of your biodegradable material, and some of that can actually be changed into some material of economic interest, like maybe some useful gases can be found out from there, maybe some fuel can be created from there, maybe some of that can be used into, let's say, building material, industrial application, let's say roads or things like that. So economic interest might be generated, and the benefit is that there is no issue. Now that if the waste is gone, you manage the whole thing, no remnants are there, so no problem of gases and leachate, and you don't need monitoring once the whole thing is reclaimed. Okay, but then still it's not always an easy choice. There are a lot of other factors which will go into it. What kind of timeline you have, what kind of technology you have, what kind of resources you have. This is all very capital intensive. A lot of money will go into using different kinds of initiatives, different kinds of technology. So depending on that, different choices will be made in different areas. They're trying to include urban local bodies. They're trying to get private sector engagement for clearing these dumping sites. They even have innovative ideas like political parties should adopt dumping sites and take responsibility of clarifying one dumping site and things like that. So how it will ultimately be done, we'll get to see that by the next year. But the idea of having, the Lakshya Zero dumping site, if that is achieved, it's going to be a very, very significant feat for the Swachh Bharat mission. With this, we can move on to our place in news. So we are going to talk about Vietnam. Vietnam is currently a very popular tourist destination also for people in India. There is a lot of engagement. A lot of people from India are going to Vietnam. And there has recently been the India-Vietnam Defense Policy Dialogue. So this dialogue is happening in the capital of Vietnam, which is Hanoi. So this is the place in news, and especially if you're just starting off your preparation, whatever place you come across, please look that up on the map. That's the only way to learn and remember and recall. Because you not only learn about the place, you also learn about what all things are there around it. So you have Vietnam. This is in south of Asia. So you have the South China Sea here. You have its neighbors, Cambodia, Laos, China here. Okay, and the significance of this particular place for us now is that we also have defense engagement with this country. It's always helpful to view something or any location from India's frame, that, okay, how is this placed for India? Now, we are going to look at some quick updates, some small articles which have been in news. We'll see why they are in news. These small bits can sometimes be direct questions in your prelims exam. Let's start with the first one. This is the Mitra Shakti exercise. So India has a lot of military exercises with different countries. So this is an annual bilateral, two countries, annual means every year, joint military exercise between the Indian Army and the Sri Lankan Army. So it's happening every year. Currently, it's happening in Karnataka. It's a kind of an alternative thing. 1 year it'll be in Sri Lanka, 1 year it'll be in India, like that. So these exercises, they can always be a match the following kind of question. That, okay, this is the name of the exercise. Questions like this have been asked in prelims. And to which country does this joint military exercise belong to? So that's what you have to remember. Mitra Shakti is Sri Lanka. Next is World Artificial Intelligence Cooperation Organization. Okay, so artificial intelligence is very significant. There's a lot of work which is globally happening on this, and there is a need for doing this responsibly. There is a need of doing this with transparency, with accountability, and for that, there is this idea that you should have a World Artificial Intelligence Cooperation Organization. So this is going to be emphasizing on human-centric design. The whole application should be for, human benefit and incorporating the human ideology. Then data sovereignty, algorithmic transparency. This is very important because the way artificial intelligence works, sometimes it's very difficult to know how the final result has come. And if you can't figure that out, that what is, if that system is not transparent, it's difficult to fix accountability or liability if needed. And overall AI governance. Now, this organization, the idea of this has been suggested by China. Okay, so there was this World Artificial Intelligence Conference in Shanghai, where it was announced that we should have an organization like this. And recently also it's been in news because at the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation meeting in South Korea currently, China is again pushed up for this. The interest which China has in this is that they want to act as a counter to US. A lot of technology-driven systems in the world are actually controlled by US because that's where most of the development is happening. So China wants this organization to be controlled by China so that they can, exert China's own soft power or to exert more greater control over artificial intelligence development in the world. So currently it's not there, but maybe it can be created with the push of China. Next is quality control orders. So India is thinking about relaxing quality control order compliances for certain products. Again, this is something which might be done. It hasn't been done. But for us, the important thing is to understand what this is and what's the big deal. So there is this Bureau of Indian Standards, which kind of standardizes a lot of things. And there is an act which controls this body, the Bureau of Indian Standards Act 2016. So under this act, you have set up specific quality control orders for some things. Okay, things which you think are important from the public point of view, things which are considered to be more critical in terms of plant use or animal use or maybe, issues of national security, any of this. So for them, a dedicated set of quality control orders are there. The difference here in, a normal BIS marking and in a quality control order is that this is mandatory. So this standard mark, which is going to come under the quality control orders, this is mandatory, whereas The other BIS regulations or licensing is voluntary. That you want to take this accreditation, you want to take this labeling, please take it. But this is mandatory, which sometimes makes it difficult for compliance, and there's a lot of burden which goes into this. And if you want to increase your manufacturing and industrial growth, the government is thinking that maybe we can relax some of these quality control orders. Now we have niobium. So this is a rare earth element. So you have this is a lanthanide metal. So you have lanthanides, which are a group of elements which are rare earth elements. When I say rare earth elements, it means that it's not that their amount is rare in the earth, but their mining is very complex. They're like, mixed. Like if there are 100 units of something, then maybe if in that particular rock you have 0.0001 unit of a rare earth element. That's where their rarity comes. Their mining is very complex. And currently what's happening is these rare earth elements are mainly produced and processed by China. And for India, we need a lot of these rare earth elements, like we need a lot of lanthanides, but we are mostly, importing them from outside, which increases the cost of those things, which creates a burden for us. So we are now trying to emphasize mining and production of a lot of these things on our own to kind of become self-sufficient in this. So here, the concept is that we must scale the production of niobium to 500 tons by the end of financial year 2027. Now, what this particular thing is going to be doing is, it's vital for the magnet industry. You can make very powerful magnets from this, and these magnets could be used in electric vehicles, basically a lot of electronic sector, so energy में, defense systems, and even in medical surgeries. Like lasers are used for surgeries. This neodymium can be used for all those surgeries. Like you want to do somebody's eye surgery. I'm sure everybody has heard about laser eye surgery. So the lasers design incorporates this. So we want to have indigenous production of this. Other standard features about this, it's lustrous, it's silvery yellow, it tarnishes quickly, it gets spoiled quickly in air, and it is available from monzite and basitonite. So these are the ores. Monzite is available in a very high amount in the southern states, like sands of Kerala are full of monzite. So from this could be mined, and the government is doing a dedicated focus so that we are not dependent on imports. Next is an environmental issue. This is a classical example of the conflict of development and environment, which we have been discussing through our different articles. So this is the discussion on Greater Flamingo Sanctuary. Now there is a wind energy park which is coming up. Okay, we want to set up alternative sources of energy production. So wind energy is something which we need, and there is a wind energy plant which is being set up in a region which is around Greater Flamingo Sanctuary, and there's a lot of opposition that this might disturb the whole idea of this sanctuary. This Great Flamingo Sanctuary, this is set up in Tamil Nadu. Okay, the Tamil Nadu government has set up this in Dhanushkodi, and the purpose is to give protection to the vital migratory birds of the Central Asian flyway. So migratory birds follow different pathways. This is specifically talking about a major birding route from Eurasia, so parts of Europe, Asia, and they come to the Indian subcontinent. So there are a lot of birds. There's a big biodiversity of birds which are coming in, and to protect them, this dedicated bird sanctuary, after the name of the great flamingo bird, is being set up. And this is located in the Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve. This is actually a very ecologically sensitive area. But with coming of that wind energy park, there might be problems to this whole thing. Let's look at the bird. So this bird, this is your great flamingo, the great flamingo. And this is found in Africa, Western Asia, Southern Europe. And when it is migrating, of course, it's coming to India. This is mainly found in shallow saline, alkaline wetlands. So the place where it likes to be is the wetlands, and that is during its breeding season. Then we have one disease, which is the Rift Valley disease. Whenever there's any discussion of the disease, you always take the discussion from the point of its origin. So this is from Kenya's Rift Valley. So there's a place called Rift Valley in Kenya. That's where this disease was first noted many, many years ago, 1930s. And currently, WHO has announced that there's an outbreak of this disease in Mauritania and Senegal in Western Africa. This is a viral disease. There's a specific type of virus called phlebovirus. And whenever it is a viral disease, the challenge is that you don't have a very good treatment. It's difficult to treat viral diseases. The medicines which we have, they don't work very well. And for this disease, the challenge is that originally it has been a disease of animals. Like cattle will have this disease. But now what is being reported is that from those infected animals, it is spreading to human beings. So currently we haven't been able to have a vaccine or treatment or anything for human beings. For animals, we have vaccines and all, because this is an older animal disease, but it's just, you can say it's new for human beings. It can also be spread by infected mosquitoes. I'm sure you know diseases are spread by mosquitoes. Through a bite of the mosquito also, this virus can be transmitted. This is all that you need to know about this disease. Okay. If it grows further, or if there is a spread to a greater extent, maybe if it reaches India someday, then it'll become more important. Otherwise, this much is enough. Now, this last topic of the day, this is on Climate Investment Fund. Okay, so first let's talk about what this fund is. So you have a climate investment fund, which was established in 2008 by the World and Regional Multilateral Development Bank. So different development banks of the world, they came together and they set up a fund directly towards climate change management, adaptation, and it is to enable climate action in 70 low and middle income countries. See, low and middle income countries have this struggle that they have limitation of resources, they have survival issues, or basic development issues, issues of healthcare and education. So at that point, there is a big struggle of how they're going to spend money for climate adaptation and technologies in that sense. So for helping them, you have this fund which is dedicatedly being prepared. And under this fund, there is, you have ARISE. ARISE is Accelerating Resilience, Investments and Innovation for Sustainable Economies. The aim of this is to help developing countries turn climate risk into opportunity. So it's for whole management of risk and opportunities that might come into this, so that they can strengthen their adaptive capacity. They have to adapt to the climate change and the risks which come under that. And for that, under the Climate Investment Fund only, you have this ARISE which is there. And why this has been in news is recently Spain and Germany, they have contributed to this fund. So they have committed that they are going to give $100 million to this fund for the development of specific technologies for climate adaptation and overall goal for innovation for sustainable economies. Okay, so with this, we complete our discussion on today's topics. Please go through the News Today document. It'll give you a little bit more structured idea on all those things which we have discussed. For any details on any topics, you can also visit our website for digital current affairs. It'll help you get a more wider range of ideas on similar topics. And you also have questions at the end which you can solve. So go through these MCQs and find out their answers. That's like your real-time test to see if you've been able to understand or get what has been discussed here. On that note, I wish you all the best. Thank you.